Hello everyone and welcome to another video on the Pennies and Shillings channel. On today's video I find myself strolling outside my comfort zone into the realm of token coins, specifically the Strachan Co tokens. I was aware of their existence but never knew the full extent of their history. While doing some research on the ZAR coins, they kept popping up and I therefore decided to take a quick detour on this interesting part of South African history. In de Kiewicz's work, A History of South Africa Social and Economic, he describes the currency at the Cape during the 17th and 18th centuries as looking like numismatic collections in its own right. There were gold mohurs and rupees from India, pagodas from Madras, doubloons and dollars from Spain, sequins from Venice, and guineas, shillings and cartwheel pennies from Britain, just to name a few. The situation up north was not much better either, with beads and livestock used to store wealth alongside the myriad of currency that trickled up northward. Then in the late 1700s, the first green shoots of South Africa's own currency started to emerge. In 1782, the Dutch governor of the Cape, Joachim van Plettenberg, brought the first paper money to the Cape Colony, specifically the Rijksdaalder and the Stuiver dominations in response to the shortage of Dutch coins. The first notes were handwritten and included a governmental fiscal hand stamp indicating the date of its issue and value. Around 1803, the first printed versions came into circulation. In terms of coins, the first coin specifically intended for the use in the Cape Colony was a scheepjesgulden. These were minted in 1802 in Holland at the request of the then Cape Governor, Jacob Abraham de Mist. In C.L. Engelbrecht's book Money in South Africa, he states that the fractional guilders, i.e. the half, quarter, eighth and the 16th guilders, were struck for circulation at the Cape Colony, specifically to alleviate the shortage of small change. The shortage of currency has been a common theme in South Africa's early history. During the 1800s, many different token coins saw the light as well, in response to the shortage of currency. Historically, a token coin's face value is greater than its commodity value. The rich, interesting story of the Griqua coins, which were issued around 1815, comes to mind. Then there were the tokens issued by Shaw in Wesleyville around 1825, which were combined with beads as a rudimentary form of currency. The oldest dated token coins, the Cape Communion tokens, were issued in 1829. Which brings us, of course, to the Strachan Co tokens, the topic of this very video. Let me cut to the chase and show you the tokens before I delve into the rather colorful history of these tokens. There were 4 different kinds of Strachan tokens issued. It's difficult to assign value, but I will try to do so. The values are based on recent auctions on BobShop, formerly Borobai, as well as Facebook that I'm currently following. Type A had a raised rim with the company's name Strachan Co, with either the denomination 3 pence, 6 pence, 1 shilling or 2 shillings printed below it. A full set should be obtainable for around 800 Rand. Type B was similar to Type A, except that it had the letters MH printed between the company name and the denomination. MH stood for Mountain Home, a store about 15 kilometers from Umzimkhulu. These are the rarest, and a full set should cost between 3,000 to 4,000 Rand. Type C was also similar to Type A, but it had the words "in goods" printed on the bottom of the token. A full set should be around 1,500 Rand. The final set, Type D, was very similar to Type C again, but with some changes in the lettering and the spacing. This is the most common set and should cost you around 600 Rand to complete. The tokens were all made of brass, unifaced, which means that the one side of the coin was absolutely blank, and with the sizes ranging from 19.1 millimeters for the 3 pence to 32.7 millimeters for the 2 shilling, and with a thickness of about 1 millimeter to 1.6 millimeters, depending on the type and the denomination. The weight varied from 2.54 for the grams for the 3 pence and to about 10.43 grams for the 2 shilling. I was fortunate enough to obtain a complete Type A set, which is possibly the oldest but not necessarily the rarest. The first thing that you'll notice is the hole at the top. The tokens were holed during the minting process, and the purpose of the hole was to allow the locals to wear it around their necks together with their beads, as their clothing did not contain any pockets like Western clothing did. The tokens were referred to as kengle and onomatopoeia, derived from the sound the tokens made around the wearer's neck. The word kengle actually means small ringing bell. And as you can see, the tokens I have here are well circulated, probably in fine condition. Even though I typically try to collect the best quality I can, I made an exception in this specific case. These tokens were probably worn around someone's neck, probably more than once, and bought actual life necessities at the Strachan store. These were someone's wages, someone's means to a living more than 100 years ago. If only tokens could talk. So what are the origin of these tokens? Well, in 1858, two Scottish brothers, Thomas and Donald Strachan, established a small trading store along the majestic Umzimkhulu River in an area known as No Man's Land. The company ran a hotel, a trading store, as well as a ferry. The company also owned several farms in the district, and they were pretty much the economy of the entire area. Around the mid-1880s, a second and third store were opened within a short time frame, all within a 15-kilometer radius. Several stores followed, the last being opened in Memeza in 1950. Sadly, the stores were all sold in the late 1970s and the company ceased to exist. Unfortunately, there is quite a bit of controversy surrounding the Strachan tokens. But the main takeaway for me is that these tokens were definitely used in transactions at the Strachan stores. It was a convenient and effective way to pay laborers and to make their daily transactions easy during a time where real currency was difficult to come by. In a region where the Strachan stores and the surrounding farms were pretty much the entire economy, the tokens came pretty close to be the indigenous currency, in that tiny corner of the world. Speculation aside, tokens that bear a private company's name on a piece of metal that is intrinsically worth less than the monetary value depicted on them would probably be treated with some hesitation outside the region. Dairy Bell milk tokens, anyone? Consider the Volksraad's anger when Burgers, the then president of the ZIR, had his image depicted on the obverse of the gold Burgers Ponder. These were rejected outright. Why would the Strachan tokens be treated otherwise? Regardless, the tokens remain an important and interesting part of South African history, and I'm very glad to have a set of my own. Keep well and happy collecting.